SportsBall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cool and mostly clear this evening with low temps dropping to 37. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds, a very slight 20% chance of an isolated late shower and a high temp reaching 69. By Thursday, we'll climb all the way to 78 as a high with late showers possible. Friday is the definite rain day with morning showers likely. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
Ooh, I like when you press that one.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblum, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sports Talk Media Network. Tuesday night, big basketball Tuesday night here in South Carolina. Sit back, enjoy, and see if South Carolina Clemson can get a couple of wins tonight. Really important for South Carolina from the standpoint of the NCAA tournament hopes. I said it, NCAA tournament hopes still alive for South Carolina. I know for Clemson, they'd love to get a win and break their losing streak. But the Tigers are, I think, pretty much out of the picture unless they run all the way through to the championship of the ACC tournament, which ain't going to happen. So we got basketball tonight. And if you happen to lose us over the airwaves, which is possible on some of our stations, and you know what? We wish them well. But if you want to stay with us, we've got our streams going up on Twitter at SportsTalkSC and on YouTube and on Facebook. Sports Talk Media Network there, and on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. Just click on the link where it says listen to the Sports Talk stream. We are in Columbia. Phil Kornblut and Pat Daniel here. It takes two of us here to run the operation. It only takes one Chris Bergen to run his operation from Sardis, as you might imagine. Good evening, sir.
Hello, sir. Glad to be back on the program for another Tuesday. I am curious, though, as you mentioned about South Carolina still being in the mix, and I'm assuming you're talking about an at-large berth, because obviously if they won the SEC tournament, they'd get that automatic bid. But this might be one of those rare years that South Carolina and teams like the Gamecocks get a bump from the SEC and actually don't get pulled down by their conference, whereas Clemson would not get a bump from its conference this year. And when is the last time we could say that the SEC is a much more favorable landing spot in terms of college basketball than the ACC has been? You know, it's pretty amazing when you think about it. And you bring up an excellent point. Here it is now, 2022. You wonder if all the money that the SEC is pulling in has actually made the SEC in comparison to the ACC, the one thing the ACC could hang its hat on, SEC football was always better, has always been better, but there was a time there where top to bottom the ACC measured up in football. Now, I know ACC fans will fire back and say, well, what about the bowl games? What about how the ACC wins some bowl games against the SEC? I'll give you that. True. But open-minded people looking at the two would say, obviously, SEC football is supreme between the two. But the ACC basketball was always there. But you know what? The SEC has, I don't think there's any question, surpassed the ACC in basketball this year and maybe for some time to come. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's kind of a year-by-year thing. And, of course, SEC baseball, top to bottom, I don't think that the ACC compares there. I just wonder if the money that the league touts, the payoff this year was $54.6 million, and that's, you know, a good bit more than what the ACC's been making over the years. I wonder if that's just finally giving the SEC whatever it is it needs in terms of the money for, now for NIL, but for facilities and everything else to promote their programs. If that's, you know, if that's paid off in basketball as well now, to where the SEC is prominent over the ACC in all three of those major sports. And let's don't forget women's basketball. Throw the SEC in there in women's basketball primarily. Well, the SEC is not a deep basketball league for women, but what league is, right? The leagues that have some good women's basketball usually have one team. Like, the SEC's got the Gamecocks, and I guess you throw Tennessee in there. But who else in the SEC is really a national power? ACC, well, you'd say what? NC State, you'd say Louisville, maybe. Those
Without
two.
a doubt.
So
but North Carolina has fallen off since Sylvia Hatchell retired, and that may be part of the problem too. The ACC is getting older in terms of its coaches. I mean, even a guy like Brad Brownell, who we look at as an older coach, once Mike Krzyzewski retires at the end of this season, and once Jim Boeheim steps down and Jim Larinaga down in Miami, you're talking about guys, and even Leonard Hamilton. You're talking about guys in their late 60s, early 70s that aren't going to be coaching much longer. And there's going to be a major turnover of head coaching in the ACC that they have not seen in multiple years. And I think one thing about the SEC, Phil, was after a while just being sort of the anchor that was pulling the league down. I think the SEC front office got to the coaches several years ago and said, in the schools, and said, look, we need to be more competitive in men's basketball. And you start seeing new facilities cropping up around the league. You start seeing teams go after maybe more high-profile coaches, and the players are getting better in the SEC. And I think all of it was a concerted effort, maybe even more so than the money being pumped in. Just the schools realizing, hey, we can be good at football, but we can be good at baseball, and we can be good at basketball as well. We don't have to just figure out a way to get from the end of football season to spring practice. We can actually entertain our fans during that stretch from November all the way to March.
Yeah, I'm not sure the fans across the board buy into it. I mean, obviously Auburn fans are big basketball fans all of a sudden this year because their team is so good. Maybe Alabama fans as well. Of course, Kentucky fans are always that way for basketball, and Tennessee and Florida. But
Arkansas.
Yeah, Arkansas. That's another one. Well, I guess you could say about half the league. Would you say about half the league is eaten up with basketball enthusiasm right now?
At least right now, yeah, without a doubt. And it's funny, the teams you put in there, with the exception of Alabama, are teams that struggled during the football season or did not have what they normally would classify as a good year, like a Tennessee and an Auburn. Whereas Alabama obviously is trying to be good at both. And then on the flip side, you look at Georgia, who won the national championship in football, and they could not be any worse in men's basketball than they are.
Yeah, they're really struggling there. So we've got South Carolina Ole Miss tonight, and on paper, the Gamecocks would look to be the better team. They got a little bit of a better record overall, but they are playing at a place where they are 2-15 lifetime. They have not fared well down there in Oxford. Beautiful, beautiful arena that they have at Ole Miss, recently built right there next to the football stadium. It's really, really cool. And this would be a heck of a road win for the Gamecocks to put on top of that road win against Georgia and really create maybe some enthusiasm, or as Frank Martin would say, some enthusiasm. Some enthusiasm. Oh, my goodness.
No, you have to throw in tremendous enthusiasm
for this for the game against LSU Saturday, and then they've got Mississippi State coming to town early next week, or next week. And, you roll the balls out there and you hope that you can make something happen. Win this game and then split next week. All right. And that's LSU and Alabama, right? LSU and Alabama.
Correct.
The one game that you look at the rest of the way.
Actually, it's LSU, Mississippi State, and then Alabama on the road.
Okay. Now, that'll be tough. Alabama, Auburn on the road, I think. They need to win tonight, get those two home games, and then pray for a split in the state of Alabama, in the Yellowhammer State. Probably won't happen. Alabama and Auburn are, obviously Auburn is the best team in the country, or one of them, but Alabama's really, really, really good too. So they need to win tonight and get those two at home, and then take their chances on the road, and hope that they can squeeze out another couple of wins in there, and then go to Tampa and win probably at least two games. If that plays out, lose the two games to the Alabama schools, win the rest, and then go to Tampa and win a couple of games, they might backdoor their way in with that kind of with that kind of close, but they got to make it happen.
No doubt. But I've seen South Carolina. You and I both have seen them long enough to realize that they're not going to get a break. They're not going to get a break from the NCAA committee. They've almost got to go win. Hang on just one second. Let me turn this back off. I was trying to jump on StreamYard, and it's not working. So you can hear me twice. My point being, South Carolina has got to make the committee have reasons not to come up with reasons not to accept them, because the committee already has some. So they've got to take all that doubt out of there. And I think getting 3 or 4 wins down the stretch and probably even getting to the quarters at worst and maybe the semis would still put them on the bubble, in my opinion, because they're off the NCAA committee radar right now. They've still got plenty of work to do. And the problem is you're not going to have a whole lot of those quad one victories that you need, assuming you don't run the table here and knock off a team like Auburn. Now, if you go into Auburn and win that game, then the whole narrative changes about South Carolina. But I don't think any of us see that happening. So they're going to have to, I think, make a pretty deep run still in the SEC tournament, even if they go, say, 3-3 at worst, 4-2 this last 6 games of the year.
All right, our phone number here on Sports Talk, if you'd like to join us here, we are open for your phone calls, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. Take your phone calls, hear what you have to say about tonight's basketball games. We've got some other topics to kick around. We'll have recruiting for you, including a little story on Gigi Jackson, who'll be visiting South Carolina this weekend. And what else? Oh, we're going to hear from Clemson baseball coach Monty Lee. He's got his rotation set for this weekend. And also, speaking of baseball, the season begins this weekend. And this was first reported by our buddy John Whittle over the Big Spur. Of course, he was all over it. But Mark Kingston was on the Goldwater and JB, Goldwater and what's her show? Goldwater and oh, I'm embarrassed. Help me. Where you at?
Don't
Chris?
know.
Don't leave me hanging.
I don't know.
Down there in
on Paul Feinbaum.
Help me out.
JB and Goldwater.
Yeah. JB is
Jamie Bradford.
Jamie Bradford. Sorry, Jamie. I knew that. Just had a brain cramp. Anyway, he was on their show and he confirmed what Whittle had reported, and that is that Julian Bosnick is going to miss the opening weekend and maybe a little longer. There's no structural damage to his arm. Maybe it's just a tired arm. They want to give it some rest and try and get him healthy for the weekends to come. Maybe a couple of weekends into the season, he'll be ready to go. So anyway, we'll get into some baseball stuff. Oh, and Kerry Tharp is back. Yay, Kerry Tharp with a new knee. Kerry Tharp with a new knee is going to be joining us tonight, his weekly visit through the NASCAR season. What is it this year? 37 races in 36 races in 37 weeks. Is that the schedule? Very, very tight schedule, of course, right, again this year.
They'll have Easter weekend off, and that'll be, I guess, about it.
Yeah, I think that's going to be it. All right, so the phone number. Yep, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. Feel free to join in on the program, and we'll take your phone calls as we move on through the evening. We'll hit our first break and catch up on some other news notes from today, give you our Founders Federal Notebook for this Tuesday night, and also set the scene for more college basketball around the SEC and the ACC and around the country and around the state coming up tonight. It's Sports Talk on a Tuesday night. The Sports Talk Media Network across the state of South Carolina. We're back in a moment.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
Stay tuned. More Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network. Score a touchdown with Founders Federal Credit Union. With services like Founders Online and the Founders app, you'll enjoy all the perks of a big bank with local personalized service, Not a member? Joining Founders Federal Credit Union is easy. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com or one of our 37 convenient locations to see if you qualify for membership. Relax with Founders. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
Phone number 888-898-2525. That's the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to Sports Talk. Since 2002, more than $829 million in lottery proceeds have been used to fund lottery tuition assistance for students attending technical colleges in South Carolina. Learn more about the lottery's impact at scheducationlottery.com/education wins. And playing for fun is a win for education. Lines are open if you want to get through to us right now. We'll be happy to take your phone calls and hear what's on your mind tonight here on Sports Talk. So we've got South Carolina playing down in Ole Miss, and we've got Clemson going down to Florida State, Chris. And like I said earlier, the Tigers out of postseason consideration as far as the NCAA is concerned. I guess about the best they can hope for now is putting a little something together and see if they can work their way into NIT consideration, which isn't as easy as it used to be.
In fact, they probably have a better shot to get into the NCAA tournament, if you can believe it, because there is a pathway still for them, as there is for everybody. You win your conference tournament. Now, Clemson's never done that, so I can't imagine this year's team would. But against the Florida State team that, Phil, this is a team that just baffles me. I thought at the beginning of the year when South Carolina beat them in Rock Hill, I thought, boy, that is a really good win for the Gamecocks. That'll be one come March that may actually help them a little bit. But Florida State, for whatever reason, part of it has been injuries, and they're still banged up, much like Clemson is. So you've got two teams that aren't going to feel their normal team going in. But still, Ed, you told me that 14 games into conference play that Florida State would be below 500 before the year began. I had a hard time buying that.
I agree with you. They've had such a good run of talent down there, and they've been so well coached. Think about that team at Florida State. They would come at you in waves. They'd come at you with 5, and then they'd sit 5 and bring in a fresh 5, and they wouldn't miss a beat.
They don't have that luxury, though, this year because of the injuries that they have suffered, and I doubt Clemson's going to feel all that empathetic for them because the Tigers are dealing with the same thing. But here's another one of those road house of horrors that Clemson deals with. They've only won 8 times all time down in Florida State, and I would guess that the Seminoles are sitting there, and we talk to some of their radio people, they're thinking the same thing. All right, if Florida State can get a win tonight, this is a winnable game for them. Maybe they start making a run for the NCAA tournament. So I think you'll have 2 teams that are going to be going at it pretty hard tonight. And what does David Collins' return for the Tigers, how much will that help them tonight, do you think?
It's got to help. Yeah, it's another body, and it's a good player. It's a guy that before he had to sit out the suspension, through the season, he was a guy that was giving them some good rebounding and some adequate scoring. So, yeah, his return will be certainly welcome by Clemson. They need another body, need somebody else who can help get on the boards and take some of that pressure off of Hall and Bohannon and the young bigs that they're having to play in there. So, yeah, I think that's absolutely a positive for Clemson. All right, some notes coming up. Let's go ahead and get to some phone calls. 888-898-2525. Bobby in KC. You're up first tonight, Tuesday edition of Sports Talk. Welcome in.
Hello, Phil. How you doing?
Good afternoon, sir.
Pat and Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you.
Okay. A couple notes I'm going to steal from you, Phil, off of ESPN. Pete Thamel broke. The Seattle Golden turned around, and I was leaving Cincinnati to become the defensive coordinator of Notre Dame.
Saw that.
Yeah. And then also Luke Fickell. They backed the Brinks truck up to his front door. What is that, 5 years? $5 million a year until 2028?
Not bad. That's not bad money at Cincinnati. Who would have ever thought Cincinnati would get that crazy to pay its coach like that?
Exactly. You wondered that was a maneuver to keep him from going somewhere else.
Well, absolutely it was.
Yep.
But
exactly.
Can he maintain? It was a marvelous, magical year for Cincinnati last season with a fabulous quarterback. Can they maintain that moving forward? Now, you make that kind of financial commitment I mean, you're expecting 10, 11 wins a season. Maybe in that league for a while they can. But no, wait a minute. They're moving. Aren't they moving? Are they moving to the Big 12?
Big 12?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so,
That's
okay.
right, you're
Well,
right.
that will change. The 10, 11 wins will become 8, 9 wins here in the not-too-distant future.
Yes, that is possibly correct, Phil. All right. Have a good evening. Thank you, Phil. Good hearing from you.
Oh, good
Have a
hearing
great
from
night.
you. We appreciate it very much. Yeah, you better get your money while you can. Better get it while you can.
3 years ago, if I had told you, Phil, that there will come a time where Cincinnati football pays their head coach more than South Carolina football does, what would you have thought?
I'd have thought you were crazy. I'd have thought you'd gone back
well
to
deserved.
the Metro Conference days is what I would have thought you'd gone back to. But, that's going to change. They're going to have to come off the hip at South Carolina for Shane Beamer here pretty soon. In fact, there is a Board of Trustees meeting, I think, coming up to approve. I don't think they've had that meeting yet to approve the Sterling Lucas contract. I would imagine perhaps they're going to do something for Shane Beamer when they have that meeting, spend some more money. Monty Lee said today his starting rotation this weekend will be Anglin, Clayton, and Hoffman against Indiana. Gilbert's going to work out of the bullpen to start out. So Anglin, Clayton, and Hoffman will be the starter. And as we mentioned, that John Whittle had reported Julian Bosnick won't pitch this weekend. He's saying it's a flexor strain. Josiah Seitler will start this weekend. It'll likely be Sanders, James Hicks, and then Seitler starting for the Gamecocks this coming weekend. Former Clemson tight end Jalen Lay transferring to Alabama State. We give you a few notes from our Founders Federal notebook here on Sports Talk. Don't forget, you can get a mortgage note at Founders Federal right now for as low as 2.33%. NBC did quite well with the Super Bowl and all their other outlets. They're reporting a total delivery audience-wise of 112.3 million viewers and reached a total of 167 million viewers. 112.3 million, most watched Super Bowl in 5 years. Think about that.
TV show, I think, in 5 years. But I've always had this question, Phil. There are over 300 million people in the United States.
Yeah.
So they basically reached half of us.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
What the heck are the other half doing on Super Bowl Sunday? What are you watching? How can you not watch the Super, even if you're not a football fan at all?
Mm-hmm.
How are you not tuning into the biggest sporting event of the year?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question.
I've never understood that.
Maybe you're reading a book. Maybe you are mowing the lawn. Maybe you are sleeping. I mean,
perhaps
other people do have lives outside of football.
And I live in a cocoon of sports, and we all do here on this program. But still, I mean, the Super Bowl has done a really nice job. I think the NFL has of trying to reach out to even the less than casual fans because of the halftime show. And the commercials are always such a big deal.
Listen, it's like this. Like my wife said, the few minutes for kickoff. Who's playing? Okay, that's what you're getting of those 112 million. I mean, slice off about 40 million who are saying, okay, well, who's playing? And the Bengals they're from where? Let's go back to the phones, 888-898-2525. We go to Tiger Bryan in Lancaster. Hello, Tiger Bryan. Good to have you with us. Hope you're feeling well.
Man, I'm feeling great, man. It's a beautiful day to be in South Carolina today, wasn't it? That sunshine, you get that vitamin D on you. Man, ain't nothing like it.
I'm with you.
You talking about Beamer and him. Dabo, he paid he gave his bonuses to his coaches when he got us rolling. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He spread the love. All this money they're giving coaches now, I mean, Dabo's got it going on now. Y'all can pump old Beamer up. Beamer ain't gonna be there long. Because South Carolina's got that chicken curse. He's still there. Case Spurrier couldn't shake it.
Wait a minute. Steve Spurrier, he took a piece out of the chicken curse. Man, what are you talking about? Beat Clemson 5 years in a row, 3 straight 11-win seasons, won an SEC division. sniffed.
Yep.
He sniffed getting, into the playoff. He sniffed. I'd say he took a little bite. He took a little bite out of the chicken curse.
Yeah, it's still there. But I'm saying, he ain't won no national championship.
But listen, I'm like you. I'm a believer in the chicken curse.
Yeah,
I believe something happened many years ago at South Carolina to produce that curse. I mean, for example, South Carolina gets a player on the 1972 Olympic basketball team, and what happens? They lose for the first time ever. I mean, that's just another example of the chicken curse. It spreads all over the world.
Wait a minute. The officials.
During the Super Bowl, I made the best chicken wings.
I know the officials stole the game.
The officials had a lot to do with that.
I get that, but I'm just saying it happened to be when there was a Gamecock on the team. They couldn't wait for another 4 years. Thank you, Tiger Wing.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cool and mostly clear this evening with low temps dropping to 37. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds, very slight 20% chance of an isolated late shower and a high temp reaching 69. By Thursday, we'll climb all the way to 78 as a high with late showers possible. Friday is the definite rain day with morning showers likely. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Imagine a hot, fresh pizza just the way you love.
Oh, baby. At Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers, we're all about the love.
Our pizzas start with hand-tossed spring water dough. We then add the freshest toppings and bake it all
with love, baby.
Salads, hoagies, and beer from around the world, too. Come enjoy the taste you love at the Mellow Mushroom in the Vista and on Sunset in Lexington.
With love.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. Russian President Vladimir Putin says he welcomes a security dialogue with the West as his military reported pulling back some of its troops near Ukraine. But U.S. President Joe Biden says the U.S. has not verified Russia's claim and that an invasion is still a distinct possibility. Putin said Tuesday that he does not want war and would rely on negotiations as he presses his demand for the West to halt Ukraine's bid to join NATO. At the same time, he did not commit to a full pullback of troops, saying Russia's next moves in the standoff will depend on how the situation evolves. A good day on Wall Street as the Dow was up by 422 points. The Nasdaq rose 348, the S&P advanced 69, oil dropped 339 to 92.07 a barrel. More details at srnnews.com.
This is Dave Ramsey here. Do you want your money to work for you rather than you working for your money? Go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank and have been serving the Midlands since 1936, offering good old-fashioned customer service and free services. They'll look out for your financial well-being. With 14 locations, check them out today at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Now, who could that be?
It's Dominion Energy. I signed us up for a home energy checkup. It's time we learn how to save energy and money.
Well, how much does it cost?
Not a dime. It's free, and it only takes about an hour. Plus, we get a report on things we can do to make our home more energy efficient.
I don't know. Sounds too good to be true.
No. See for yourself at DominionEnergySC.com.
Where?
DominionEnergySC.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
If you're like me, you're sick and tired of seeing these old TV stars, game show hosts, these athletes telling you how to save money on your Medicare and on your health insurance. These national toll-free numbers are overwhelming us. It's not that people don't need the service. They need good local customer service, not big box toll-free numbers. See, I work directly with Tim Hanberry right here at Medicare Blueprint in the Midlands. When it comes to my family, I want the best family plan. I'm not even on Medicare, but my mom is. So here's what I do want. Someone local to serve as my advisor on the plans and choices that I have, and someone to help mom with her Medicare. I want someone to help me pick the right plan, save me as much money as possible by knowing all the rules of the game. Medicare Blueprint starts the process with you. They will see it through. They answer all your questions. They call you back. It's the same folks helping you start to finish. Tim and his team are independent. They fight for you, not the insurance company. Online, it's MedicareBlueprint.com or call them 708-7398.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
So you've heard there are a lot of great jobs in HVAC, plumbing, and welding, but you aren't sure how to break into the field. Midlands Tech has your solution with the Quick Jobs Scholarship at Midlands Tech. This scholarship covers the full cost of training in these high-demand fields. We're talking a full-ride scholarship getting you the training you need for great-paying jobs in as little as 5 to 6 months. Go to midlandstech.edu and search for the one-word title, Quick Jobs. That's midlandstech.edu and find the one-word title, Quick Jobs.
Okay, we continue with Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Tuesday night edition. Good to have you with us. 888-898-2525 is the phone number. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. Coming up, we'll hear from Monty Lee and a visit from Carrie Tharp. They are 80 days away from the throwback weekend at Darlington. Going to be a big weekend full of racing, and we look forward to being with them every step of the way. They've got another opportunity for you to drive on the track there coming up. KT will share all that with us here in just a little bit. Story I want to get into, then we'll get back to your phone calls, 888-898-2525. This was in The Athletic. So, just draw your own conclusions. I'm sick of trying to make you think the way I think. Think your own way. It's a free country. Do what you want. So the headline is Cars, Apartments, and Six-Figure Packages Inside the New Money-Fueled Frontier of the College Football Arms Race. It's by David Ubben, and he wrote this in Knoxville. And it's about the Tennessee football program and their relationship with a company called Spire Sports, identified as a Tennessee-centric college sports collective. That's what they're calling these things now. They're collectives. Sounds like communism, doesn't it?
It absolutely does.
It's called collectives. In other words, that's what has sprung up as of July 1 of last year. And these people, they knew it was coming and they were ready to jump. And they put these collectives together. That's what the Garnet Trust is with Gamecock Central. And it's crowdsourcing, and they get their people to send them money, which they use for their own well-being, and then they siphon off X amount to the athletes that they represent. And so he says here, this president of this company, Hunter Badur, quote, "If you would have asked us 4 to 5 months ago, we might have said we want to try and raise $3 million, $4 million, $5 million annually. Now the goal is $25 million annually or more. And we think that goal is absolutely attainable." End of quote. So you know the story about the NILs and, what they all mean and where it's going to go from here. But the basis of this story is about the fact that this is very much part of recruiting. When the NCAA signed off on it and said, go for it, they said it wasn't supposed to be used as part of recruiting. I couldn't think of a more laughable sentence in a release than what I read there, because those idiots in Indianapolis, had to know those words meant nothing, that every college coach is going to use every advantage that he or she can in recruiting. And that means, of course, flashing the dollars now and flashing the opportunities for the NIL money and everything else that comes with NIL to be used to lure the athlete to the campus. And so these collectives
are going to be sprouting up all over the country. Every Power 5 school is going to have it. They must have it now. This is part of the deal. It used to be you had to have academic advisors. Nobody talks about academics anymore, Chris, since this NIL thing has come to pass. Really, have you not seen where the academic talk has just been shoved to the background?
Yeah, the last time I think we heard about academic work in the classroom was when we were trying to get 5 and 7 teams bowl eligible at the end of this past football season.
Well, now
That's the APR.
South Carolina has tied in the $6,000 it's going to pay its professional athletes. They're tying it into academic work. You have to, I have maintain a certain GPR standard,
right,
to get it. But anyway, let's get back to this story. So Badur said, we're prepared to invest a substantial amount of resources into the 2023 class. The money is staggering, is what this writer writes, and so is the influence, especially for those with the means to show recruits their market value can outpace what it might be on a campus elsewhere. Badur said this: Neyland Stadium being packed, passion of the fans, being in the SEC, all those things are still major factors. But what NIL opportunities a player will have is right up there at the top now. End quote. He says his company's looking to be the number one. See, I mean, what you're seeing here, of course, springing up are people who are going to make money off the back of the players. Once again, the thing that players complained about when they were only getting scholarships and the like, that everybody was making money off their sweat and off their backs. Well, all you're doing now is providing, feeding more people off your back and off your sweat. But that's okay. That's the way it's going to be. That's the way it's going to be. A guy named Blake Lawrence, the CEO of Open Doors, which is a similar collective, he said, quote, there will be an NIL collective for every Power 5 school by the end of this year. And the top collectives will spend $10 million per year on NIL. And so this story goes on, if you want to look it up on The Athletic, if you subscribe to The Athletic. So, I mean, I'm finished fighting it because there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it, Chris. It's what it is. It's the way the college world is going to be. I just wonder. I mean, I guess the young people coming up, graduating and being a part of this scene now are going to be more than happy to reach into their pockets and fund this, just like they have funded scholarships and Gamecock clubs and IPTAY clubs and all these other booster organizations over the decades. It's the same thing. They've always asked their fans to come out of pocket. But now can you ask them to do that and also fund NILs? Or are you going to lose one way or the other there?
As you were reading through that story, that was the only thing that came to my mind. And if I'm the typical Clemson fan or South Carolina fan, and all I care about is my team being really, really good in sports, and I look and I get season tickets every year, and I support the Gamecock Club and I support IPTAY, and they give all this money for scholarships, or I have very limited disposable income, or I can field a collective and spend money there that is going directly to a 5-star wide receiver or a 5-star power forward. I'm thinking, Phil, now I'm not going to join the Gamecock Club at IPTAY. This is how I'm going to support my university, because I feel like directly I'm going to affect the product on the field much more so through NIL than I ever did, helping buy tickets and scholarship money and all that through the booster clubs.
Yeah. It's just another layer of recruiting crap that you have to go through. I mean, let's face it. It used to be you'd sit down with a high school player's coach and family, and you talk about the virtues of coming to your school, playing for this coach, getting an opportunity, getting an education. And now the NIL is going to be really real. And then, okay, well, who's representing you in your NIL situation? Well, I've got this company over here, and here's what they can bring to the table. What does your university have? Well, we've got this company over here. It's just another layer from a recruiting standpoint that I think complicates the entire process and certainly gives huge advantages to schools, I guess, that are willing to pony up and play the game in a big way. And if you don't play the game in a big way, You're going to be left behind. All right, Pat. Now, Pat, I'm not saying don't jump down my throat saying it's bad. Did I say it was bad, Chris? I didn't say it was bad. I said it's the way it is. I'm accepting the way it is.
Not sure I've ever jumped down your throat, but okay.
No!
Anyways, again, okay. So anyways, I just would like you brought up academics, so I just want to actually share some data with you to disprove what you're saying without telling any data. Both South Carolina and Clemson both had new highs this past year in terms of graduation success rate among student athletes.
Mhm.
South Carolina was second in the SEC, only behind Vanderbilt with 96%. And I'm sorry, 96%. And Clemson was tied for tops in the ACC at 95% with two other schools. So just if you're going to talk about how there's no longer an emphasis in academics, let's at
the
least
NIL,
show that
the NIL did not really impact people you're talking about. They've already been in school. The NIL is really going to start taking an effect here with the 23 class. They're the first ones going to be recruited where NIL is fully vested in the situation. But I hear what you're saying.
Well, you just moved the goalposts. Now you're saying
no, I moved the goalposts.
New students aren't graduating. They're coming from high school. So right now we only have one semester of data thus far.
Mm-hmm.
But in the very first semester within the NIL, whatever you want to call it, generation, both South Carolina and Clemson are doing very, very well. So let's at least keep the conversation honest. This may change a year from now.
I'm not saying I'm not being dishonest. I'm saying, first of all, that's very limited data because it hasn't really taken effect. Very few people.
So is all of your data. It also has not taken effect. But for 6
what
months.
did I say about academics? I'm saying only thing I said about academics is that it's not being talked about now. The first thing people are talking about is what are the NIL opportunities, not what are the academic opportunities. I'm talking about the discussions in recruiting. This particular story, not a thing about academics being involved in the recruiting process.
Do you have data to back that up? Do you know Shane Beamer and Dabo Sweeney talk about NIL before they talk about academics?
I'm reading the story. I'm talking about this story here.
Okay.
I'm talking about the story that I'm reading here.
Gotcha.
Okay. About NILs. No, I don't know what goes on in their conversations, but I got to believe that in future conversations with recruits, that the NIL is going to be a very early topic in the conversation. As a matter of fact, I think it was stated here in this story that I was just looking at about the fact that NIL is high up on the list of things that come up when they are talking recruiting with prospects. We're talking about coaches and recruits getting together. I don't think that can be denied. I mean, this is if you're saying that you don't believe this is the new number one angle in recruiting, then you're fooling yourself. And you're so blind trying to push the academic aspect of things, then you don't know what's going on out there in the real world.
I never said that either, though.
Well,
Again,
then
you're
okay.
now
What I'm
twisting
saying
words.
is that this
I'm
is
using
going to
your
be the
exact quotes
dominant.
against you, though.
This is going to be the dominant part of the conversation when they sit down and start discussing. You know, where am I going to end up going to school?
It will be
where
every bit
am
as
I going to
important
cash
as
in the
academics.
most?
Yep.
Oh, it's okay. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
No, but while saying this as though it's like the doom and gloom situation, you're also trying to downplay academics as though that's no longer just as important. But yes, now
Well, let's let it
NIL
play out for a few
absolutely
years. Let's see where the grades are in a few years after this NIL has been around for 3 or 4 years.
Absolutely, totally
Yeah,
agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The
Chris?
bigger question, though, is going to be how are Gamecock Club and IPTAY and those school booster clubs, how are they going to be affected by NIL? Because the example I used a couple of minutes ago, I think the average fan is going to look at these opportunities here with the Garnet Trust and this company that you were mentioning with regards to Tennessee and feel like they have a better way to affect what they're seeing on the field or on the basketball court a lot better through these programs than they ever did through the booster clubs of the particular schools. And if I'm those units, I've got to work with them somehow and figure out a way that I can keep my ticket revenue where it is.
Well, keep this in mind. Unless something changes, you still have to contribute to your club, Gamecock Club, IPTAY, to have the rights to buy season tickets.
Correct.
As things stand now. So if you want season tickets, you're going to have to be a member of IPTAY. And then if you want to help through NIL, then you will contribute that way. And I guess there's enough big money donors out there to do most of that. You know, you don't need that many. How many big money donors do you need to fund an NIL operation? What, maybe 10?
Yeah.
And
that's a good point.
And Clemson's selling close to 60,000 season tickets. South Carolina's been selling close to 50,000 season tickets. Certainly out of their fan base, each one they can find 8 to 10 millionaire, billionaire types who, of course, would not miss that kind of money. They use that kind of money to dry off their hands, after washing their car. Saying they got plenty of money to throw around. And no, Pat, you're saying I'm doing doom and gloom. I am not. I've told you I've accepted the world that we're in now. Okay. And I hope it works out great for everybody. I hope the players make their money, the coaches continue to get paid, and the fans enjoy college professional athletics like they enjoyed it in the years before. And I hope so. But I'm going to be a realist here too, and also realize that things can get out of whack when there's a lot of money being tossed around, whether it's under the table or above board, which this is. This is above board. Nobody's cheating here, and maybe that's a good thing. Maybe because everything's out front now, the money's changing hands legally. Players can go to the highest bidder legally. Maybe that's a good thing, the way it's going to play out, Chris.
I hope so. I hope this works for everybody involved. I just see there are obvious potholes to all of this, as there were when you started offering scholarships. And we had this discussion back in the 50s and 60s when collegiate scholarships started becoming in vogue. I bet there were people in our seats back then, had there been sports radio, that would have said the same thing that we are talking about now. This is just the next level of getting the athletes compensated for what they do.
All right, got to hit a break, and we'll get back to your phone calls. Just wanted to dive into that story and hear what people around here had to say about it. We'll take your calls on it as well. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery, lucky number here on Sports Talk Tuesday night edition. We'll be back. Quick break. More Sports Talk coming up.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com. You're listening to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We're back in a moment.
There was just a lack of Black women, business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives. Growing up, I didn't see that. I figured out that I wanted to be a photographer for women of color. I found my niche and I'm sticking to it.
Each year, the South Carolina Education Lottery raises millions of dollars for scholarships and grants that help students prepare for their dream career. Just like Kristen, your passion is our purpose.
Get back to your phone calls here on Sports Talk. We approach the top of the hour, but we have time for more of your phone calls. We go to Jody in West Columbia. Jody, welcome into Sports Talk. Good to have you with us. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
We're great. Good to have you with us.
I'm going to give you a 2-year prediction, and it's going to be in the form of an ad. Hi, my name is Billy Jones, and when I'm not throwing touchdowns for the Gamecocks, I'm driving Steve Jones Cadillac. You think I'm kidding? You watch this.
Oh, yeah.
It is absolutely going to happen. It's SMU, and it's all legal.
Yeah. Are you okay with it as a fan?
No. We're already paying them $50,000 a year for a scholarship.
That's right.
It's embarrassing. Hey, think about this. What are you going to do when the high-quality wide receiver, quarterback, running back make all that money and those offensive and defensive linemen don't? They're going to stop blocking?
That's right. I mean, it's not going to be equal distribution. I mean, the prettiest are going to be the ones invited to the party. The big uglies are now,
I know there'll be some of the players who share the money with their teammates, and maybe they should. They realize that some of these guys aren't going to get the opportunities because they don't ever touch the football and they're not viewed as important. Maybe they'll share some of their take with them. But then again, if they become employees, is there going to be a salary cap? I mean, what kind of things are going to come into play as this thing evolves over the years?
Yep. I'm telling you, there's never been a quarterback that's completed a pass to a wide receiver or a running back that won the nation's, rushing championship where 5 guys weren't busting their chops every single day and got hardly any accolades about it.
This is true.
So those guys better recognize that.
This is true. This is true.
This coming from an O-line.
I could tell. Sounded like an OT there. Okay. Well, thank you.
And then the last thing, you need to tell what's his face, he needs to calm the snippiness down a little bit. He's jumping on you, boss. Don't you? Did you take him to the woodshed at the break?
Oh, no. We have free reign of opinion and comments here on Sports Talk. There's no the only time there was lingering ill will was when K-Mac was part of the show, and I wanted to strangle him most every night. Otherwise, it's pretty calm.
Y'all have a great night.
But I get my pleasure now, thank you, with K-Mac, because every time the Lakers lose, I send them a snarky text message, because I know that gets next to him.
I'd be really careful, though, the way your Celtics are playing. I'm not sure I'd be.
We've won 8 in a row, dude.
Very braggadocious.
We've won 8 in a row.
About that situation.
Can you hear me?
The Lakers.
We've won 8 in a row.
I've heard you. Yeah, and Aaron
we're
Rodgers.
Playing great.
And Aaron Rodgers was the MVP. I get all of that.
Yeah. My world is okay. I'm willing to start over with the Celtics, getting number 18, then work my way to the Yankees. And
I will say this.
We'll get back to the Packers in due time.
To play devil's advocate with Jody's point about no quarterback has ever completed a pass without the offensive line blocking for him, I bet Joe Burrow would like to disagree.
Probably so. All right, quickly we go to where are we going next? Sam in Charleston. Hello, Sam. Welcome in to Sports Talk. How are you?
I can feel the love in the world right now with you now.
You can feel the love?
Yeah, I can feel the love.
That's all we're about here, Sam. We're all about the love.
Hey, I want to ask you a baseball question.
Go right ahead.
I want to start a long conversation about the College of Charleston men's. I'm sorry, meant to say. I said that you need to look out for Daniel Brooks at the College of Charleston baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen the promo video?
I have not. Have you?
Oh, it's really good. I was at the TD Arena last night against Drexel, and we won 77-74. And I have a basketball rule question for you.
Uh-huh.
There's a malfunction shot clock thing. It's supposed to be 1.1 seconds and 15 minutes from the game. It's like 9 o'clock at night. And I didn't know what the rule is about the shot clock for the CFC basketball game.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, I want to ask you about the South Carolina baseball team in Lycan. I'm a huge Carolina fan in my life. I have a friend named Wayne Hyatt. He's helping with the Gamecocks at the baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be the starters for the pitching mound, and I want to know if who's going to be the next batter up.
All right. The starters for the Gamecocks, we talked about that earlier. It's going to be Will Sanders will probably start on Friday because it would either have been Sanders or Bosnick, and Bosnick's out with an arm issue right now. So it'll be Sanders starting. And then we mentioned the other 2 guys that are going to be starting this weekend for the Gamecocks. See if I can pull that back up. And what was the other question about the Gamecocks baseball? Did you catch that, Chris?
He asked something about the shot clock, and I didn't quite understand what his question was with regards to the shot clock.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there was
That
another
the only
question
thing he asked about
another question about Gamecock baseball in there too that I didn't catch. Something about who was next man up or something like that. I mean, and
Maybe
thanks for your
lineup.
phone call. I think
their starting lineup for Friday.
Yeah, I think maybe we'll find out more on that from Mark Kingston tomorrow when he's talking with the media tomorrow. The Gamecocks are going to be a basically new team out there. Not too many position players returning in their same spots from last year. A couple of the outfield spots, and I'm just thinking catcher. A couple of the outfield spots, catcher. And I think one infield spot if Wimmer wins the third base job. Everybody else is going to be new. So that's the way college baseball is and has been. College baseball has been that sport that has a great amount of turnover because of the draft and guys from junior college who only stay 1 year and leave. All right, thanks for the calls. We'll continue. Top of the hour break.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. President Biden says a Russian invasion of Ukraine remains distinctly possible, but diplomatic efforts continue. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Updating the American people on the Ukraine crisis, the president spoke hours after Russia announced that some military units along the border were returning to their bases.
That would be good, but we have not yet verified that.
Mr. Biden pledged that he will give diplomacy every chance to succeed, even as he warned Russia of the swift and severe response the U.S. and its NATO allies are prepared to deliver if there is an attack. Greg Clugston, the White House.
Diplomatic writer Matthew Lee reports the U.S. won't give in to Russian demands.
The main Russian demands have been flatly rejected by the U.S. and NATO, and they will continue to be so. So it's a little bit unclear as to what the talks will be about, other than perhaps secondary issues.
GOP members of the Senate Banking Committee have blocked votes for President Biden's 5 Fed nominees. Bob Agnew reports.
Each of the 12 Republican members of the Senate Banking Committee refused to show up. That deprived the panel of its required quorum for the vote. The GOP members are focused on the president's nominee to be the Fed's regulatory chief, Sarah Bloom Raskin. They argue she gave misleading answers and that she intends to use the Fed to punish the fossil fuel industry. Banking Committee Chairman Democrat Sherrod Brown accused the GOP members of, quote, hiding rather than voting on a fair and experienced nominee. Bob Agnew reporting.
Stocks were up today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average rose 422 points to 34,988. The Nasdaq up by 348 points. The S&P 500 advancing 69. Oil dropped $3.39 to close at $92.07 a barrel. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Tell me why Relief Factor is so successful in lowering or eliminating pain. I'm often asked that question. Pete and Seth Talbot, the father and son founders of Relief Factor, tell me they believe our bodies were designed to heal. The doctors who formulated Relief Factor selected the 4 best ingredients, 100% drug-free ingredients that each help your body deal with inflammation. Order the 3-week quick start now. Discount it to only $19.95 to see if it will work for you too. Call 800-500-8384. ReliefFactor.com.
My heart was racing just making spaghetti. I could have waited to tell my doctor, but I didn't wait.
I was short of breath just reading a book. I could have delayed telling my doctor, but I didn't wait.
They told their doctors and found out they have atrial fibrillation, a condition which makes it about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you have one or more of these symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, this is no time to wait. Contact your doctor.
Brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
The top Democrat in the U.S. House of Representatives pays a visit to Israel. The latest from the Media Line's Felice Friedson.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will address Israel's parliament, the Knesset, on Wednesday. Pelosi will be heading a delegation of Democratic congressmen, women, and senators. Some pundits see the junket as an effort to blunt the volume of party progressives, reasserting the Democratic role in the traditional bipartisan support Israel enjoys on Capitol Hill. As midterm elections draw near, the narrative is shifting toward a new reality where Democrats are seen as less supportive of the Jewish state than Republicans. Information released ahead of the Pelosi visit stressed a lifelong commitment to the Jewish state, with her congressman father urging President Harry Truman to recognize Israel. I'm Felice Friedson, Town Hall News, Jerusalem.
News and analysis at themedialine.org and townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cool and mostly clear this evening with low temps dropping to 37. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds, a very slight 20% chance of an isolated late shower at a high temp reaching 69. By Thursday, we'll climb all the way to 78 as a high with late showers possible. Friday is the definite rain day with morning showers likely. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather. WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
We are back, Sports Talk Media Network. Good to have you, Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, Pat Daniel, all having a big time on this Tuesday. 888-898-2525. Time for more of your phone calls. If you'd like to join in, it's 4-3, South Carolina leading Ole Miss. About 3 minutes into the ball game, Stevenson and Bryant have the two Gamecock buckets. Reese, Couisnard, Stevenson, Levesque, and Bryant, your starters for the Gamecocks, who are 2 of 5 from the floor and winning and rebounding early, 4-2. And turnovers, the Gamecocks have 1, Rebels have 2, and the Gamecocks have 1 foul. Rebels have 2, and that's it for the significant stats. 4-3 USC on top. Clemson and Florida State have not yet tipped off down there in Tallahassee. Give you some other basketball tonight. Wake Forest and Duke just underway. Big game in Durham, 3-3. Florida, 4-2 over Texas A&M. And it is Longwood leading High Point, 41-36 in the Big South. Michigan State over Penn State in the Big Ten, 22-19. Texas, Oklahoma, 4-4 in the Big 8. Memphis leading Cincinnati 9-7. Memphis, let that be a lesson for you. I mean, you want to have great players, but great players don't guarantee success. I mean, that team is loaded with stud puppies, and they've had nothing but issues all season long. Not saying that you don't want them. I'm just saying it's not always the route to success. Got to be a combination of things.
Yeah, but don't dare press Penny Hardaway on that, because you'll get him coming out at you like a lion protecting his cub. He got really upset when he was asked about why they're not better than they are.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks back. Speaking of Duke, though, Phil, I don't know if you saw this today, but there's a report out. There's a new book coming out on Mike Krzyzewski, one of, I would imagine, many that will be coming out over the next few weeks and months, written by New York Post columnist Ian O'Connor. And in that book, Coach K, The Rise and Reign of Mike Krzyzewski, Ian O'Connor reports that Duke actually initially offered the job to Tommy Amaker, former Krzyzewski player, obviously, and now the head coach at Harvard. And sources told O'Connor, according to the report, that Krzyzewski actually wanted Shire, in part because he believed he would maintain more control over the program in retirement with Shire running the show than he would with Amaker. Now, if you're Duke, and evidently the Duke administration, according to the book, they actually wanted Amaker and went so far, at least in this report, as to offer him the job. And Krzyzewski had to call Amaker and say, no, I don't want to give you the job. It's going to somebody else. I mean, how much power does that guy have? I understand as the current head coach, but with him retiring, if you're Duke, wouldn't you want to pick the next guy and not have Mike Krzyzewski looking over the shoulder of John Shire? Because as the report pointed out, he would be able to maintain more control over the program in retirement with Shire running the show than he would with Amaker, who's considerably more accomplished as a head coach than John Shire is, who's never been a head coach. This is a crazy, crazy story.
It goes back to who owns the program, the school or the greatest coach of all time, or one of the greatest coaches of all time. Who owns Alabama? Who owns the program, Alabama or Nick Saban? When Nick Saban retires, does he get to pick a successor, or does Alabama pick it? It's a very tough situation for the school to be in.
But why? I mean, what's Nick Saban going to do? What is Mike Krzyzewski going to do? And let's assume Dabo, when he retires, he wants to bring Tyler Gresham as his replacement. And Clemson wants to go in another direction. I mean, what can these outgoing coaches do?
Nothing.
I mean, what kind of recourse do they have against the university?
They can only go public and say how disappointed they are that they built the program and they wanted it to be continued by somebody cut from their mold. And Tommy Amaker certainly cut from Krzyzewski's mold.
So, yeah.
But that's interesting. I'm sure it'll come up in the post game tonight. I wonder how Krzyzewski's going to handle that when somebody asks him about it there in North Carolina. Very interesting. It's the old question: who owns the program, the very successful coach or the school itself? So interesting.
And Tommy Amaker to me seems like a perfect fill-in and successor, because at Harvard you would think he's got a pretty good idea, going back to Pat's point about academics. And you can't tell me Duke is in a more difficult position than Harvard is. And here's a guy who's gotten Harvard to the NCAA tournament. He's a terrific coach.
Maybe John Shire's better at NIL than Tommy Amaker is. Maybe that's the reason. He knows how to do the NIL deal.
And to your point, Chris, Amaker has 437 career wins. So he's been around the block.
Shire has 0.
That's right.
As a head coach.
And Amaker had those 6 years at Michigan. He went 108 and 84. Didn't have a great time there. Never reached the NCAA tournament, but still, that's 6 years at a blue blood, top-notch caliber program in a big conference. Again, something Shire does not have. And now, what you were saying a moment ago, Corn, great point. It makes me curious.
Don't suck up to me by saying I made a great point.
Oh,
you don't have to suck up. That's okay.
We're objective. No, we will never see eye to eye on NIL.
My feelings, you did not hurt anybody's feelings.
I know. But I can call a spade a spade. Anyways, right here, though. Oh, God, now you made me lose my train of thought.
It worked. It worked.
Oh, no. One thing I would think is somebody like a Nick Saban and I guess a Dabo Swinney and a Coach K is, after they leave, how involved would they be on a more consultant type basis, where if you have a top-notch player who's debating between going to Duke or North Carolina, you bring Coach K in to meet with the parents along with John Shire, assuming that's all allowed. Duke kind of has to kiss up to him a little bit so as to hope that they can call him when they need him. Whereas if they piss him off and hire a guy he didn't want, maybe you risk ostracizing him to an extent.
It sounds like to me Krzyzewski's planning on sitting on his couch at home and texting John Shire throughout the game and telling him what defense to run and what plays to run down the stretch. When he makes a comment about would maintain more control over the program in retirement with Shire running the show than he would Amaker. That says everything I need. And the story went on to say that a Duke source told O'Connor that Krzyzewski can be Don Corleone when he needs to be.
See, what's going to tick off Krzyzewski is that there are, quote, Duke sources, end quote, talking about him now and putting stuff out there. He's going to hit. I'd love to be in that interview room. I hope they win, so he'll be willing to talk about it. Maybe even if they lose, he'll be willing to talk about it. I hope somebody will bring it up. I'm sure they will, and I hope they're direct. And I'd love to hear the answers from Krzyzewski. Yeah, he's going to be. As they indicated, he's obviously a control freak. And the fact that somebody in his dominion there went out and spilled the beans on some stuff from the inside, that's got to drive a guy like him crazy. Because there's always somebody that wants to talk. And you think there's loyalty. You think you've built loyalty over all those years at Duke, right? You think you have built some loyalty, but there's somebody in there. It might be a guy that works in the video room. Just like the guy that screwed Will Muschamp with the video. Remember that a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
Somebody in the inner sanctum there leaked a video and showed no loyalty to Will Muschamp there by putting him in a position of being embarrassed over something that cutting the fool inside your own office like that probably happens every day in athletic departments. And people go, oh, I can't believe he said that. So,
maybe Amaker is the Duke source.
Could be. Hey, that's a good point.
He qualifies as an alumni, right? I mean, he would be a Duke. Duke source. They didn't say it was within the program. It just said a Duke source.
9-5 USC over Ole Miss. 15:23 to go in the opening half. Ole Miss a paltry 2 of 7, so the Gamecocks are off to a good start defensively. And Florida State leading Clemson 9-4, about the same point of the first half. And starting for the Tigers tonight, give you the starting lineup. They had Shiflin. They had Honor. Collins was back in the starting lineup, Hunter and Hall. And the Tigers are 1 for 5, 0 for 3, 2 for 2 from the line, and down early 9-4 there at Florida State. Let's go to Bruce in Columbia. Next up with us here on Sports Talk. Bruce, welcome in. How are you?
Boy, I tell you, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up with you guys tonight. I tell you, y'all are at it. But you came out ahead, I think, Corn Blue. I'm just going to pat you on the back because I need some.
That is totally not necessary.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just giving you the heads up.
No, it's totally not necessary.
Well, anyway, I'm working on a commercial for myself, for my product, and I'm looking at Paige Becker. And, you're talking about giving money for the, students to do a commercial for you or whatever, represent you. And Hunter went through, and Dabo Samuels.
That's Debo. Debo.
Debo, yes.
No, you're Debo from your Dabo.
Yeah, right. I'm kind of twisted there, but anyway, and Laura Rutledge is going to do the commentating, and she's going to ask the two guys to go against her in a game of horse. And they're going to be looking at each other and say, "Hey, she's hurt. She's benched. She can't do anything. She's not supposed to." And she's out there hitting, shots, swishing them, and everything. Laura Rutledge is calling the game, So that's my idea for a commercial, and I'm getting into that. Using one of the premier students to represent my company.
How much you going to pay?
About all that?
How much you going to pay?
Well, how much do you think it'll cost?
Probably, I would say I really don't have an idea. If I'm Paige Belker, I'm probably saying $25,000 maybe for a commercial.
Okay, well that's nothing.
Okay.
What about Renfro and Samuels?
Well, they're pros. They're probably going to ask $100,000 each.
Oh, that's not bad.
Well, she's a pro too. They're all pros. They're just pros at a different level. They might all ask for $100,000 each. How about a good-looking sports talk show host who would do it for about half of that? I got one in mind.
I'm looking at a national product. You know what I'm saying? Just I like.
So, what's your point? Samuels. You don't think we're known around the world?
No, I'm not saying that. I mean, it's just my company. I'm trying to get that national feeling from y'all. Like you said, you're a national company, aren't you? I'm going to use y'all.
Well, we're on the internet. We're on the internet. You can hear us on the internet. I guess that makes us as national as anybody.
Yeah,
I mean, Nielsen doesn't look at our listenership nationally, but we are, national, international, probably out in space somewhere too. Probably can get us on Mars.
Okay, the Martians are here. Okay.
That's right.
All right.
Well, good luck with that. Let me know how much you spend, and if you have any left, throw it our way. Appreciate it.
I will. Thank you.
All right. Good luck with that. 888-898-2525 is the number. 11-7 USC over Ole Miss, and 9-5 Florida State is leading Clemson. Duke on top of Wake Forest, 13-11. A&M 8-6 over Florida. Boy, A&M has really hit the skids. South Carolina needs A&M to win because they're 73, I think, in the net, which gives the Gamecocks a Q1 win. If they drop below 75, that Q1 win goes away. They need A&M to win some games. Back in a moment. We're with Major Billy Downer of DNR. Of course, South Carolina is great for the Hunters, Major. What do the Hunters need to remember before they get out in the fields?
It seems like every other show we're talking about hunting safety of some sort. One thing we want hunters in this state to remember is always identify your target and what lies beyond it. Make sure before you pull that trigger that you know what you're looking at. Whether it's a turkey during turkey season or a deer during deer season, you know your identifying features of your game. You know what's beyond that target in case you miss.
Learn more about the great outdoors in South Carolina with Major Billy Downer on SC Wild here on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Sports fans, are you in it to win it? Join South Carolina's fight against COVID-19 by getting your vaccine today. Vaccines are safe and will help stabilize school operations by bringing us back together safely. The CDC recommends everyone 5 years and older get vaccinated. Visit scdhec.gov/VaxLocator or call 866-365-8110 to find a vaccination station near you.
Life, it has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
Those of you watching the internet feed, you see the beat that the Corn has. Beat to the drum with our fabulous bumper music here on Sports Talk, heard worldwide on the World Wide Web. When's the last time you said World Wide Web? Remember the beginning of all that? www. Had to say that before identifying where you were on the internet.
I will let our listeners into a little Radio 101. If you hear any commercial that actually mentions the 3 W's, the reason that's in there is because whomever wrote the commercial ran out of copy and had to fill time.
www.
The only reason it's in there. Yes, that's the only reason it's in there.
And of course, most don't say it right. It's www, like WIS, WBT. First thing you learn in broadcast schools, how to say the letter W. Mm-hmm. Unless, of course, you're going to work west of the Mississippi, then it's K, except for a rarity. It's like KDKA in Pittsburgh. I think that's the only station east of the Mississippi River that begins with a K. Can't remember why they did that, but west of the Mississippi, everybody is a K. Mm-hmm. I think there might be an exception or two.
Well, there's one in New Orleans, but New Orleans sits right there on the Mississippi River, so I guess they can go either way. But WWL down in New Orleans.
WWL, yeah, I agree. Hard to believe college baseball season for the big guys begins Friday. I know that Division II and junior colleges, other lower levels, they've been playing, but the Power 5 schools, the big guys, they crank up their regular season beginning on Friday. Will we have anybody make it to Omaha this year? Clemson just wants to get back to having a winning season and getting to the NCAA tournament after doing neither last season. So Monty Lee knows he's got to turn it around. Feels like he's got a pretty good club. He spoke with the media this afternoon from the home dugout at Doug Kingsmore talking about his team.
We feel very good about, going into this weekend. God willing, over the next few days, we stay healthy. But we feel very good about what our plans are. Still trying to make a decision between maybe 1 to 2 spots, but we feel pretty good about, I would say, 7 out of those 9 spots going into Friday.
The outfield had a lot of different variations you could use. Have you settled on one now? Is that one of the places you settled on, or how's that working out?
Well, we feel like, guys like Chad Ferry. Ferry's had between the fall and the preseason, he's had just a exceptional preseason. He's shown tremendous power. He's hit for an average, been able to get on base. He's a very good defender in left field, so he's played very, very well over the course of the year. We feel like J.D. Brock has had a very good preseason. He's probably arguably our best defensive center fielder. And we all know, look, we lost Bryce Teodosio, arguably the best center fielder in our league over the last few years defensively. So we needed somebody to be able to play center field at a high level. JD gives us an opportunity to put a guy there that we think can play the position and play it well. I think Dylan Brewer will see some time in center field as well. Dylan's going to be an everyday guy. You could see some changes in center field, just kind of based on left-handed versus right-handed lineups. But Dylan could see some time in center field as well, depending upon what we do with some other spots versus, say, a left-handed pitcher to get another right-handed hitter in there. And then right field, Dylan will play right field. If JD is in center, JD can also play right. You could also see Grice out there. Again, if we're facing a lefty, we have the ability. We've played Caden out in right field some. He's very good out there. We could play Caden in right field to get another right-handed hitter in the lineup in the infield. So we have some options. But I would say, that's primarily the group that going into the weekend that you could see in those three spots. I would say Ferry, Brock, Brewer in the outfield with Grice at first. And then if we face a lefty, which we don't know their rotation yet, but if we face a left-hander to get another right-hander in that lineup, we could potentially move Dylan over to center field. Caden could go out into right field, and we could stick another right-handed hitter in the infield. So it gives us some flexibility.
You have some flexibility at catching. You got two pretty good guys. You settled on a starter for catching yet? And how much input does a pitcher get in picking a catcher?
Well, we're not necessarily going to ask every pitcher which catcher they prefer to throw to. That's our decision. We hope that the two guys that we have, and French and Engel, are both guys that our pitching staff likes to pitch to. However, we all know that they're human beings, and there's certain starting pitchers that may prefer one guy over the other. I would say between those two guys, we've got two great defensive catchers. Engel has been our best offensive player, over the course of the preseason. I mean, he's hit the ball a ton. So he's an everyday player. The thing about Engel, he has the ability to catch. He can DH, and we can play him in left field as well if needed. He could possibly play second base. He's played a little bit of second base, so he's very, very versatile. But Engel's going to be in the lineup. Frenchie's the most experienced guy, and there is that calming presence of having an experienced catcher behind the plate. So that's certainly going to come into consideration going into opening day at the catching position. But I will tell you, if French catches for us opening day, Engel's going to be in the lineup, and Engel will be in the lineup every single day as long as he's healthy.
But those two weekend rotation spots behind Matt, you're going to go with?
Yeah. So we're going to go with Anglin in game one. We're going to go with Nick Clayton in game two. Nick has been our best starter. I mean, he's been very, very good in all of his starts in the preseason. And then on Sunday, we're going to go with Nick Hoffman. So we feel like we want to go with our veterans. Those guys have thrown the most innings for us outside of Gilbert. And we'll use Gilbert out of the bullpen because we need that strong left-handed presence out of the bullpen. And Jeff's a guy that has done it. We've developed Jeffrey as a starter. So with the mindset that Jeff could go out there and throw 3 to 4 innings out of the bullpen if needed. So we built him to be a long reliever, sort of a piggyback option behind one of those starters, or be able to use him multiple times over the weekend. So that's our plan.
What's Hoffman doing to get that Sunday spot for now?
Well, just look at his numbers. His numbers. He's one of the best pure strike throwers in the league. I mean, his command is exceptional. He doesn't walk anybody. And on Sunday, that's a pretty calming presence to be able to run out there as a Sunday starter. You know that he is going to fill up the strike zone and pitch to contact, and has the ability to get you deep into the game. If you recall, he pitched a complete game against Boston College last year. He started for us. He's pitched long relief, and he's also closed. So he's very, very experienced, and he's been through it. So, we feel like going into week one, we wanted guys with stripes on their sleeves to go out there and start for us, and feel like those are the best 3 guys for those spots.
Monty, how would you compare the depth both on the mound and in the lineup right now to last season?
I feel like we're deeper. I feel like we have more quality options in all categories. Now, last year we got hit a little bit early in the season with injuries. Sharp and Askew and even Anglin. Those guys. All 3 of those guys experienced time off. a big part of that's just going to be luck. You know, we have to be a little bit lucky when it comes to staying healthy. As we sit here right now, we're pretty healthy. You know, we have a majority of our roster is available and ready to go. We have a couple guys out, but for the most part, you know, you're more than likely you're not going to throw more than 8 to 10 guys on the weekend. If you're pitching more than 8 to 10 guys on the weekend, you're in trouble. So we feel like we're going to be able to run 8 to 10 quality arms out there over the course of the weekend. And from a lineup perspective, you know, we feel very good. Probably, I would say 6 to 7 of those guys are going to be everyday guys. And we do have some platoon options, whether we face a lefty or righty, in 2 to 3 of those spots.
Monty Lee setting the stage for the Tigers' season opening weekend against Indiana. Indiana, of course, got a pretty good club and be a good test for Clemson right out of the gates this baseball season. We'll hear from Mark Kingston. He's talking on Thursday to preview the season opener for the Gamecocks. They got Greensboro in town this weekend. We'll hit a break and be back. Clemson and Florida State now 18 all. Be right back.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. Cool and mostly clear this evening with low temps dropping to 37. Tomorrow, a mix of sun and clouds, a very slight 20% chance of an isolated late shower and a high temp reaching 69. By Thursday, we'll climb all the way to 78 as a high with late showers possible. Friday is the definite rain day with morning showers likely. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting. Stocks ended broadly higher on Wall Street Tuesday as investors welcomed signs that tensions might ease in Ukraine. The S&P 500 rose 1.6%. The tech-heavy NASDAQ rose 2.5%, and U.S. benchmark crude slid 3.6%. Moscow said some troops near Ukraine's borders would begin returning to their bases. However, President Biden says that claim remains unverified. Bond yields rose after another indicator on inflation came in higher than expected. The yield on the 10-year Treasury rose to 2.05% after the government reported that inflation at the wholesale level surged 9.7% from a year earlier in January. The Dow was up by 422 points. The NASDAQ rose 348. More details at srnnews.com.
When you're a military veteran with over 40,000 organizations trying to help you, it can be hard to find the right information. That's why AARP brings together valuable resources to help you navigate your options. AARP.org/veterans. With the free veteran employment and fraud prevention resources, caregiving tools, and access to discounts, AARP, on a mission to support veterans. Visit AARP.org/veterans today.
Everyone knows that here at The Point, we are all about supporting local businesses. We are all about local, local, local. You cannot get more local than my friend Greg McCoy and his business, Simplified Mortgage Solutions. Fran Halloran here. If you're buying a home or you're looking to refinance your current home, you owe it to yourself to call Greg. He is the real deal. You can expect Greg to treat you like you are his only client. You can expect Greg to scour the market to find you the best rate available. You can expect Greg to charge you a fair price for his work and his service. Why would you deal with some national company headquartered in who knows where when you can do business with Greg? Need further persuasion? Okay, I didn't even mention the good Greg does in our community by supporting local charities like Blue Star Mothers and Camp Chemo. Come on, you need to call Greg. Online at simplifiedmortgagesc.com, or you can call Greg at 803-722-6044. That's 722-6044.
Hi, honey. Were you able to drop by True Pharmacy today to pick up Mom's medications?
Yes, she sure is on a lot of meds.
I know. That's why I go over so often to help make sure she's taking them correctly.
Well, I have great news. The pharmacist at True Pharmacy said he can pre-pack her medications into individual doses.
Wow. Knowing she's taking the right meds at the right time will give me great peace of mind. But how much does it cost?
That's the even better part. It's free. Just another great service they offer at True Pharmacy. True Pharmacy, 2 locations, Charleston Highway in West Columbia and Devine Street downtown.
Hey, it's Jay with the Melting Pot. So this is the time of year when we try to be responsible and plan out the next 12 months. I'm not good at it either, so let's work on this together. Go and grab your calendar, whether it's on your phone or on your refrigerator. Find your anniversary, your best friend's birthday, your kid's birthday, your spouse's birthday, graduation day, and write in Melting Pot. We're the premier special occasion restaurant in the Midlands, the Melting Pot.
Hey, Tiger fans, 2022 Clemson baseball season tickets are currently on sale. Coach Monty Lee and your Clemson Tiger baseball team open the season on February 18th, and you can be there for every game by purchasing your season tickets. Home series include matchups against Miami, Florida State, NC State, Georgia Tech, as well as our annual home games against South Carolina and Georgia, and many more. So log on to ClemsonTigers.com to purchase your Clemson baseball tickets and come back home to Clemson.
All right, been a while since we heard from the boss, and now we hear from the boss of Darlington County, the boss of the PD. Well, that's Chris Bergen, but the number 2 boss of the PD, the president of Darlington Raceway, and he was unanimous. There was no spying. There was no investigation. He was a unanimous choice in the election to be president of Darlington International Raceway. We welcome back once again, another season of NASCAR racing is here. The Daytona 500 coming up. It is Kerry Tharp with a brand new knee. Welcome in, sir.
Oh my goodness, what an intro! I'm glad Patrick called me. I was immersed here watching Daytona 500 practice, actually, and he reminded me that the Gamecocks were on, so I had to flip it over there for that. But I was watching the 500 practice, and time got away from me. But boy, it's good to be back on, to hear that music, hear your melodious tones, Phil. It's just like it ought to be, you know. Tuesday night, 7:32, 7:33, KT and the Corn and Chris and Smitty and everybody just talking up some NASCAR.
Absolutely. And since you mentioned it, let me take a look at the speeds today in the second round of practice. You've got Ryan Blaney, 192.588. Joey Logano, 192.135. Cole Custer, 191.103. Cody Ware, 191.099. Chris Buescher, 191.087. So, I mean, you never know with practice. I always say this. You never know exactly if they're running full package and running full out. But still, pretty consistent there, the 192 and down. So what's the reporting you're getting on the new car at Daytona? I know we saw them out in Los Angeles, but that was just more of a circus than it was anything else. Do you take anything from LA that'll apply to Daytona?
Right. Yeah, no, not a whole lot, Phil, to be honest with you. And really, the new car at Daytona, I think will certainly perform well. I don't have any doubt about that. But I think we'll really get a real test of the new car when we go to Atlanta, when we go to California, when we go to Las Vegas, those 1.5-mile tracks, to see how it performs. But certainly from what I've been able to see so far in the very short period of time watching it here, practice here a little bit late this afternoon and early tonight. It looks like the Fords are performing pretty well. Most of those names that you recited a second ago on the top of the speed charts are all Fords, and so maybe it's time for them to kind of make a little bit of a rally. Didn't have the season last year is I'm sure that they would have liked to have had. Kevin Harvick, in fact, going winless last year, but I think the new car is going to be just fine. I think it's really, though, you're really going to see how it performs here in the next few weeks when we go to 1.5 mile tracks.
What are you hearing from the teams about the new car, how it feels to the drivers?
Well, I tell you, I think there's a tremendous amount of progress was made. I think I read where they tested this car, Phil, over about a 1.5 to 2 year period, 18 different times. In fact, we had one of the tests at Darlington last April with Tyler Reddick. I think that there were some bugs that had to be worked out early. I think that there was heat in the car early on underneath the floorboard. I think that that's been rectified. I think that there was some concerns months ago about maybe some of the drivability of the car, and I think that's been rectified. Everything that I've heard, let's say within the last 6 weeks, 2 months, from the drivers has been very, very positive. I know they had a big test at Daytona not too long ago. They've had tests at Charlotte, with a lot of cars out on the racetrack, and so listening to the drivers, reading things that I see from reports that NASCAR has, it's pretty positive, to be honest with you, on what they think this new car will do.
Gary Tharp, president of Darlington Raceway, back with us to kick off a brand new NASCAR season. Daytona Day coming up Sunday with the Great American Race. And Gary, you mentioned earlier today in your press availability that this year's car, the next gen, was going to be more difficult to drive. So you hinted at the prospects there may be more Darlington stripes, both in May and also in Labor Day. Denny Hamlin was extremely critical back during the fall. I don't know if his opinion has changed. So give us the nuts and bolts. How is this car that much different than the one they drove last year?
Well, several different things. I think there's less aero. The car has less aerodynamic principles than some of the other cars that we've seen. So I think it really goes back into how you set up your car now, and it also puts it back in the driver's hands. Chris, there's less downforce on this car. The spoiler is smaller. The car is closer to the ground than the other car. It has larger wheels. The old car had 15 inch wheels. This has 18-inch wheels, and so no longer do you have the multiple lug nuts that you have to get on there. You've got one single lug nut, so that makes it different too with your pit stops. But I think the car looks more like the car that we see on the highways. The Camaro looks more like the Camaro, the Mustang more like the Mustang, and the Toyota Camry more like the Toyota Camry. But I think and listening to the drivers and hearing what they had to say over the last several months, that the car is a little squirrely sometimes in the turns, and so I just think that the handling of the car is going to be a handful for a lot of these drivers, and so that's why I think at a place like Darlington, I think it'll make the racing maybe even better than what we've seen the last several years.
Aside from your obvious excitement about the upcoming season during your presser today, I thought one of the more interesting things you mentioned, you were asked about the upcoming Throwback Weekend and the theme or the era that is normally celebrated during Throwback Weekend. And you said you guys are going a different route this year. Why did you make that change, and how will fans see maybe a difference come Mother's Day weekend?
Well, I think, Chris, the notion was that our first 4 or 5 years that we had the Throwback Weekend, we did kind of specify a specific era that we were going to recognize. I think we did the 70s one year, the 80s, and even did 7 decades of NASCAR one time. And so talking to the teams, talking to even the broadcast partners, the sponsors. But one guy that I talked to, and I took his opinion to the bank, was Dale Earnhardt Jr. I asked him a year and a half ago or so about the Throwback Weekend. I said, Dale, I said, do you like the fact of having a specific era with the Throwback Weekend, or do you think we should just leave it open and let teams recognize and pay tribute to whatever means the most to their race teams. And he said, I think you definitely should just leave it open and let the teams, have some flexibility and do some things that mean the most to their racing organizations. And so that's what we've decided to do. And I think it'll be well received. We really haven't been able to celebrate our throwback weekend, Chris, in full totality since September of 2019 because of the pandemic. And of course, we did have the throwback weekend last May at Darlington when we had the event, but it was really kind of limited crowd attendance, and then also limited from the outside of where we could attract some of the Hall of Famers and legends. And so we're glad that those restrictions are behind us. And so we look forward to kind of having the throwback weekend like it was, with a lot of Hall of Famers, a lot of legends here, and trying to make sure that the fans get a real taste of what the throwback weekend is all about.
Gary Thornton with us for a few more moments here tonight from Darlington Raceway. Looking forward to this weekend's running of the Daytona 500. And KT, we actually had a caller last night. This a little different subject, but he was curious about sponsorships for Joe Gibbs Racing, especially with Mars and M&M stepping away from Kyle Busch after this season. Where do you see Kyle Busch and Joe Gibbs Racing landing a sponsorship? And do they try and maybe coax Interstate Batteries to expand what they're already doing with him in the Xfinity Series?
Well, that's a great question. Mars has certainly been a very loyal partner to the Gibbs organization for many, many years, and certainly Kyle Busch has been that 18 car. I think that's a good point that you make. Interstate Batteries has also been a very long-standing sponsor with the Joe Gibbs race team. So I could see them stepping up and getting even more heavily involved with the Cup program. But Kyle's a dynamic, interesting character that I'm sure could attract a wide variety of sponsors. And so, and Joe Gibbs is probably the best there is out there at lining up sponsors for his race team. So I don't think that they'll have any issue of finding someone to fill that void. But I will say this, the Mars family and M&Ms and all the brands that they have been outstanding. And I think they'll be missed when it comes to seeing them on the weekend on that 18 car.
KT, before we let you go, I know things are never quiet over at Darlington. You guys are always cooking up some stuff. I know you've got another event coming up here soon where folks can get out on the track, have a good time, getting a feel for the old lady and raising some money.
Yeah, we do, Phil. It's February 26th. That'll be a week from Saturday. Will be our first of several track laps for charity events here at Darlington Raceway. Be from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Fans can come out just for $20. Take 3 laps around the Lady in Black. It goes to a great charity there in the Darlington community. Genesis Health has an after-school program there in Darlington that we would like to support and help support better than what we've been able to do previously. So that's where this particular charity will be driven towards that one. But I encourage fans to come out. We're going to have several of these during the course of the season. We're even going to have one Wednesday night leading into our throwback weekend. We're going to do that one under the lights. So I think fans will certainly enjoy that and be able to test out the old lady in black before the throwback weekend hits us.
That'll be great. And one more thing before we let you go. First time we've had a chance to talk to you since the news came out from your place that this spring everything will be on the front stretch, no seating on the back stretch. What's the thinking there? And is this just for the spring race, or will this continue into the Southern 500 weekend?
No, it'll be a permanent thing, Phil, and it's kind of twofold. We wanted to really put renewed emphasis on our front stretch and all the things that we've already invested over there with some of the improved seating that we did a couple of years ago. And really for fans to be able to get a great experience up there where pit road is, where the driver intros are, where the fan zone is behind the front stretch. And to be honest with you, we were the only track left on the NASCAR schedule that even had backstretch seating. And so it really is something that, just doesn't people, tracks don't have it anymore. And so we just thought being able to drive everything to the front stretch, give our fans a better experience. And, who knows, maybe we'll have some other plans for the back stretch here in the next year or two, but that's a decision that'll take place for the May race, and will also be in play for the fall race as well.
So when you go racing your weekend in May, will it just be closed off? Are you knocking down the stands back there? Are you putting tarp over it? What are you doing?
Yeah, we're putting some banners up that recognize some of our premier partners like Bush, Geico, some of the main partners in NASCAR. And we're also, our corporate sales team is also out selling about 4 of those banners, and they're pretty good size. You get some good TV time on there too. So, if you and Chris want to go in on it, we'll definitely put your all show up there for
nice.
A little bit of a fee. But no, there'll be banners that'll be covering up those seats over there.
We do have a nice Sports Talk banner that we can slap up there. So don't put it past us.
I know you do. I would think that would be something that you all could definitely do in short order.
Well, we're going to sponsor a car first, and then we'll get to the banner. That's our first. I want my face.
That Pinto?
I want my face on the hood of the number 33 driven by Larry Bird. That's what I want.
Oh, that's what you want. That'd be perfect, wouldn't it? It'd be perfect.
How's the knee? Can you get through security at an airport without them making you frisky and all that kind of stuff?
I haven't flown really since the pandemic yet. I had one knee replaced 16 months ago, and then I had this other one replaced 18 days ago. So I think the next time that I get on an airplane, I'm going to set that buzzer off like nobody's business. I'll probably have those TSA guys all over me, but it's doing okay. It's no piece of cake, to be honest with you. But I'm doing the rehab, doing everything that I need to do. In fact, I saw Chris's lovely wife over at the rehab facility a few weeks ago, and but it's no fun over there. I told my therapist today, if you continue to do what you're doing, I'm going to have to report you to the authorities. So let's put it this way: I wouldn't volunteer to have this done. Okay,
yeah.
But, hey, it is what it is.
It's always sad when the great athlete breaks down. Never an easy way to do it.
Oh my gosh, it is. Yeah. Trust me, it is.
Never easy. KT. Enjoy the week. Enjoy the race this weekend. Look forward to having you back with us next Tuesday and every Tuesday moving on.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, Kate.
Thanks, Kerry.
Kerry Tharp with us here on Sports Talk in his I didn't realize he'd had a previous operation. His 2 new knees. That's good. Clemson, 36-29 over Florida State. 2:20 to go in the opening half. And South Carolina trailing at the half now at Ole Miss. 29-28. Gamecocks being led by Bryant with 7 in 12 minutes. Couisnard has not scored in 14 minutes, has a couple of turnovers. Reese has got 4. Oh, I'm sorry. Carter actually leads the Gamecocks with 9. Devin Carter with 9 in 12 minutes. He gets out there and he makes things happen, I tell you. And that's a good move getting him off the bench. So the Gamecocks are down a point after leading early, 29-28. Recruiting coming up.
Touchstone Energy cooperative members save more on electricity, and members save more on insurance, groceries, healthcare, restaurants, travel, concerts, and sporting events through Co-op Connections. Touchstone Energy is an alliance of the member-owned electric cooperatives, and as a member, the power is yours. Experience the power of co-op membership with Touchstone Energy and find out how much you can save on electricity and a whole lot more at touchstoneenergy.com. You're listening to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We're back in a moment.
I'll never forget the day I decided to go out for the football team. Mr. Banks, the JV football coach and my history teacher, asked me to stay after class. I thought I was in trouble. He said, "Hey, Darius, have you thought about going out for football? I think you'd be great." Fact is, I never played football. Fact is, I never had anyone tell me I'd be great at something. So, with no experience at all, I signed up. And a week later, I padded up and was running drills on the field. I never was great, but playing high school sports was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I was accepted by my teammates, and I learned that when someone believes in you, you can believe in yourself.
Encourage a student you know to take part in a high school sport. This message presented by the SCHSL and the South Carolina Athletic Administrators Association.
I got to give you the recruiting report before we get away from you tonight here on Sports Talk. Brought to you by Seawells. Another great day for the Seawells Daily Luncheon Buffet. And what do we have to look forward to tomorrow, Wednesday, midweek treat at Seawells, Pat?
Ooh, tomorrow has my name all over it, Corn. You got carved turkey with cornbread dressing, so a little Thanksgiving middle of the week, southern fried chicken, and then my personal favorite, bacon-wrapped meatloaf. If you have not had it, I cannot recommend it enough.
Bacon-wrapped meatloaf. Mama, I need the meatloaf. I want the meatloaf.
The only thing that's not made better by adding bacon is ice cream. Outside of that, I don't think there's any food you can't make better without a little bacon.
I agree. A little bacon grease on you. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know where that came from? My movie line just then. Mom, the meatloaf.
That's Will Ferrell.
From?
Wedding Crashers.
Very good. Mom, the meatloaf. He had a very small role in that movie, but he was dynamic in that role. And don't forget Seawells, of course, the very best in the catering business. Seawells in Columbia. So 6'10", G.G. Jackson of Ridgeview, been the talk of high school basketball in the state recruiting-wise. 23 class. Rivals made him number one in the country. He's got a bunch of major offers. He's taken official visits already to Duke, North Carolina, and Georgetown. He'll be at South Carolina this weekend. And South Carolina, of course, is going to do everything it can to impress him to the hilt and the family. Yerrick Stoneman, the head coach at Ridgeview, said that he's been to South Carolina a lot, 4 games already, been on campus many times. They'll go out for dinner. They'll sit down. They'll relax. Frank Martin, been recruiting the family very hard and become very close with them. Basketball probably won't be a major topic. They'll be talking about a whole bunch of other things about what's his life going to be like down the road. What can he do to be developed, not just as a basketball player, but as a young man, the 40-year investment thing. And, of course, the NIL conversation will take place as they want to see what South Carolina has going on there and how they might benefit from that. That will be part of the conversation for sure. In South Carolina, of course, trying to land a big-time in-state player. And Stoneman said that Martin is just one of those guys. He's just going to shoot straight. He's not going to sugarcoat anything. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But he's not going to BS anybody, basically, when it comes to recruiting. Jackson's averaging 22-11-2 this season. Team will open in the state playoffs on Wednesday night. Former Clemson tight end Jalen Lay headed to Alabama State. He played in 19 games at Clemson, only caught 2 passes for 25 yards. USC offered offensive lineman Elias Alinen, 6'6", 315 from Finland. He attends school in Windsor, Connecticut, heavily recruited player. Clemson has also shown interest. USC target offensive tackle Antonio Tripp Jr. will visit Miami March 5th. Some other USC targets getting offers: tight end Connor Cox, Texas and Indiana; cornerback Sharif Denson, Texas A&M; offensive tackle Wilcom Fomby, Oklahoma; defensive tackle Elijah Davis, Tennessee; linebacker Cameron Linhart, Duke. USC and Clemson target defensive tackle Jordan Hall, offered by Tennessee; USC running back target Benjamin Hall, offered by Vandy; and USC target athlete Jeremiah Anglin, offered by Indiana. Clemson target wide receiver Tyler Williams, offered by Oklahoma and Southern Cal. Clemson target defensive end Desmond Umeozulu plans to visit Ohio State March 5th. USC target running back Trayon Webb going to narrow his focus to 5 schools soon. They'll get his officials. He wants to make his decision before his senior season. 3 o'clock Thursday, the announcement
For Clemson target, offensive tackle Luke Montgomery. Clemson, Ohio State, the favorite. Michigan, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma, the other finalists. Linebacker Jean-Claude Joseph, the third of Cummington, Georgia, committed to Coastal Carolina. Jean-Claude. Lakewood corner Brandon Cease, offered by Akron. And, of course, North Carolina offered 2024 6'4" Cam Scott of Lexington. He visited over the weekend. I also want to mention that the Carolina Classic All-Star Game is back. See if I can give you the boys' roster here real quick. Dylan Williams of Irmo, Houston Jones of Dutch Fork, Isaiah Williams of Blythewood, Jordan Surratt of Dorman, Justin Bailey, Blue Ridge, Corey Davis of York Prep, Lawrence Barty of Clover, Noah Clowney of Dorman, Pharrell Boiguiano from Riverside, Zachary Davis of Denmark Oler, the girls, Kwajiaja Langley of Blue Ridge, Talasia Cooper, East Clarendon, Anala Nelson, Lower Richland, Jakaya Mack, J.O. Mann, Destiny Middleton of Westside, McCall King, Christchurch, Quantashia Davis of Aiken, Jasmine Grant, Somerville, Ariana Wilkes of Spring Valley, and Summer Joseph of Darlington. I did it, Chris. I did it.
Well done. Well done.
All right. Clemson is up 38-34 late in the half. Hey, we'll have coverage of the post games of both on our website. Otherwise, see you tomorrow.
Someone will be right with you.
The Point.
WQX